Do we have greater energy independence? Is the environment cleaner? Have we done something about climate change? Have we dealt with an ongoing terrorist threat and helped to bring about stability around the world? And those things, every single day, I've got an opportunity to make a difference on those fronts.
You're not satisfied
which is
where you are now?
Absolutely not. Well, I wouldn't be satisfied as long as I'm meeting somebody who doesn't have a job and wants one. I'm not going to be satisfied as long as there's a kid who writes me a letter and says, I got $60,000 worth of debt and I don't know how to pay it back. And the American people aren't satisfied. So, I want to do everything I can to deliver for them.
And how about Democrats? The fact that they kept you out of these battleground states. Does that kind of bug you a little bit?
Listen, as I think some of you saw when I was out in the campaign trail, I love campaigning. I love talking to ordinary people. I love listening to their stories. I love shaking hands and getting hugs and just seeing the process of democracy and citizenship manifest itself during an election. But I'm also a practical guy. And ultimately, every candidate out there had to make their own decisions about what they thought would be most helpful for them. And I wanted to make sure that I'm respectful of their particular region, their particular state or congressional district. And if it was more helpful for them for me to be behind the scenes, I'm happy to do it. I don't have. I'll let other people analyze that. But what I will emphasize is that one of the nice things about being in the sixth year of your presidency is you've seen a lot of ups and downs, and you've gotten more than your fair share of attention. I've had the limelight, and there have been times where the requests for my appearances were endless. There have been times where politically we were down, and it all kind of evens out, which is why what's most important, I think, is keeping your eye on the ball, and that is, are you actually getting some good done? Scott Horsley, last question.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned that where your policies actually were on the ballot, they often did better than members of your party. Does that signal some shortcoming on your part or on the party's part in framing this election and communicating to the American people what it is that Democrats stand for?
I do think that one area where I know we're constantly experimenting and trying to do better is just making sure that people know exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish and what we have accomplished in clear ways that people can that understand how it affects them. And I think the minimum wage, I talked about a lot on the campaign trail, but I'm not sure it penetrated well enough to make a difference. Part of what I also think we've got to look at is the 2/3 of people who were eligible to vote and just didn't vote. One of the things that I'm very proud of in 2008 and 2012 when I ran for office was we got people involved who hadn't been involved before. We got folks to vote who hadn't voted before, particularly young people. And that was part of the promise and the excitement was if you get involved, if you participate, if you embrace that sense of citizenship, then things change. And not just in abstract ways, they change in concrete ways. Somebody gets a job who didn't have it before. Somebody gets health care who didn't have it before. Or a student is able to go to college who couldn't afford it. And sustaining that, especially in midterms elections, has proven difficult. sustaining that sense of if you get involved, then and if you vote, then there's going to be big change out there. And partly, I think, when they look at Washington, they say nothing's working and it's not making a difference, and there's just a constant slew of bad news coming over the TV screen. Then you can understand how folks would get discouraged. But it's my job to figure this out as best I can. And if the way we are talking about issues isn't working, then I'm going to try some different things. If the ways that we're approaching the Republicans in Congress isn't working, I'm going to try different things, whether it's having a drink with Mich McConnell or letting John Boehner beat me again at golf, or or weekly press conferences. I don't know if that would be effective, but whatever I think might make a difference in this, I'm going to be trying out up until my last day in office. But I'll close with what I said in my opening statement. I am really optimistic about America. I know that runs counter to the current mood. But when you look at the facts, our economy is stronger than just about anybody's. Our energy production is better than just about anybody's. We've slashed our deficit by more than half. More people have health insurance. Our businesses have the strongest balance sheets that they've had in decades. Our young people are just incredibly talented and gifted, and more of them are graduating from high school, and more of them are going on to college, and more women are getting degrees and entering into the workforce. And what part of the reason I love campaigning is you travel around the country, folks are just good. They're smart and they're hardworking, and they're not always paying a lot of attention to Washington, and in some cases they've given up on Washington, but their impulses are not sharply partisan, and their impulses are not ideological. They're really practical, good, generous people. So, and we continue to be a magnet for the best and brightest from all around the world. We have all the best cards relative to every other country on earth. Our armed forces, you talk to them. I had a chance this morning to just call some of our health service that is operating in Liberia, and the amount of hope and professionalism that they've brought has galvanized the entire country, and they've built a platform effectively for other countries suddenly to start coming in, and we're seeing real progress in fighting the disease in a country that just a month or a month and a half ago was desperate and had no hope. So all that makes me optimistic. And my job over the next couple of years is to do some practical, concrete things as much as possible with Congress, where it's not possible with Congress, on my own, to show people why we should be confident, and to give people a sense of progress and a sense of hope. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be ongoing nagging problems that are stubborn and can't be solved overnight. And probably the biggest one is the fact that despite economic growth, wages and income have still not gone up. And that's a long-term trend that we've seen for 10, 20, 30 years. And it makes people worried about not just their own situation, but whether their kids are going to be doing better than they did, which is the essence of the American dream. I think there's some concrete things we can do to make sure that wages and incomes do go up. Minimum wage in those 5 states was a good start. But I think more than anything, what I want to communicate over these next 2 years is the promise and possibility of America. This is just an extraordinary country. And democracy is messy, and we're diverse, and we're big, and there are times where you're a politician and you're disappointed with election results. But maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know. It doesn't make me mopey. It energizes me because it means that this democracy is working. And people in America were restless and impatient, and we want to get things done. And even when things are going good, we want them to do better. And that's why this is the greatest country on earth. That's why I'm so privileged to have a chance to be president for the next couple of years. All right? Thank you, everybody.
One day after